In 2010, college freshman football player Chris Norton was making a routine tackle on a kickoff at Lutheran College when in an instant his life would change as he became a quadriplegic. His story is the subject of the movie 7 Yards, and the way Chris and his family leaned on God from the instant his limp body hit the turf on that day until today is truly inspirational. I started my conversation with Chris Norton by asking him where he grew up.
Born and raised in Iowa. That's kind of where my roots are and where I kind of call home.
So where did you end up going to high school, and was it for all 4 years? Was it a small enough high school that they had freshmen all the way up to seniors in the same school?
Yeah, actually, we had our 7th and 8th graders were with the high school. It was all kind of blended and used a lot of the same classrooms and hallways, so that was pretty intimidating. As a 7th grader, brushing shoulders with some of these giant, what at the time seemed like giants.
So tell me about growing up in the Norton household. Did you grow up in a Christian atmosphere, and talk about that and your siblings as well?
Yeah, so the Norton household, I'm just really fortunate. I have very just kind, loving, hardworking parents that are great role models, and they really instill a lot of confidence in me. They encourage me to go for my dreams and goals. They taught me about God. They would drag me to church on Sundays, although I would usually try to plead with them and talk them out of it, just trying to sleep in. But I'm really thankful that they did teach me about God and help me establish a faith in my life, because that'd be really important to me. I was a middle child. I had an older sister, Alex, who was about 4 years older than me, and then a younger sister who's about 4 years younger than me. So I was sandwiched right in the middle, and we were really close family. We spent a lot of time together. A very social family where we loved being with people and just having fun. But my dad, and my mom, they really taught me about taking accountability for your life, and that really helped shape, I believe, my resilience to overcome some of the hardships that I would face later on. And so my dad told me, if you don't like where you're at, then do something about it. And that just really helped me to take responsibility for all my outcomes, the good and the bad. And the more responsibility you accept, the better you'll respond to adversity. And I had no idea just how important that lesson would be later on in my life.
Tell me about playing sports at an early age. Did you play typical football, basketball, baseball? Did you gravitate to any other kind of sport? And why did you end up playing college football and not anything else?
I played all the sports growing up, everything underneath the sun, I feel like. Soccer, baseball, I ran track, football, basketball. And my love, though, for sports really kind of teetered, though, back and forth between basketball and football. It really depended on what season was being played. And as a kid, my dad, he was a big college football fan, but not necessarily a professional. I can remember some of my buddies, they had a couple professional teams. I started gravitating to watching them. I started watching the Minnesota Vikings when Chris Carter and Randy Moss were playing. And I really liked how Chris Carter had the same name as me, that same first name. So I've always wanted to be a wide receiver at an early age. I always wanted to be the wide out, making these, toe-tapping catches on the sidelines. And so I loved playing football. I loved making the catches. And then once we started getting the pads on, the first time I think I put the pads on were in 6th grade. And I'm a kind of a peacemaker kind of person, soft-spoken. I'm not a very loud vocal, loudest person of the bunch. But when I put the pads on, I just felt like this adrenaline rush, this love for contact, and I wasn't afraid of it. And early on, I was probably one of the most undersized players out there. I was kind of a late grower, but I was the middle linebacker. I was probably the smallest guy on my team, but they put me at middle linebacker because I was going to fly wherever that ball was going to go to. I had good instincts, and I wasn't afraid to make the contact. So I know people got a big kick out of watching this little guy running around, making tackles all over the field, and that's just kind of how I played. As I got older, I just loved making contact, and so although I played wide receiver, I was just naturally just good on the defensive side just because of the whole physical aspect of it. But I played a lot of basketball. I thought I was actually going to play college basketball for a while, but I just decided that, football, I'd probably only get 4 more years. I didn't foresee myself playing any more football after those 4 years of college. So I might as well get those 4 more years of pads. Whereas basketball, I could play in the old men's league and continue, shooting the ball around on my leisure time. So let's lace up the pads 4 more years, which is why I ended up playing college football over basketball.
I chuckle, Chris, because I'm 60 now, and I've been playing basketball my whole life, and I actually just went out with a bunch of 50-year-olds and 60-year-olds last night to play pickup basketball, and it would have been a sight to see, I'm sure. That's why I chuckled when you brought up the old man basketball. So you go to Luther College, Division III school in Iowa. Why Luther? Was that your first choice?
It wasn't my first choice. It was probably in my top 3 or 4 for the longest time, but I was actually going to go to Central College in Pella, Iowa. They have a really well-respected football program. I really liked the coaches, and I just kind of like, maybe I'll just go there and play 4 years of college ball. But my high school coach, he's an assistant coach, he's a teacher of mine. I really enjoyed him. He coached me about almost every sport. But he played at Luther College for football, and he's like, man, I'm telling you, I feel like you're a Luther guy. Can you please, just for me, give it one more chance? Can you just do an overnight, really experience the campus and get a feel for what it's like? Because Luther College, it was a 3-hour drive, and honestly, it's out of laziness. It's man, I don't know if I want to, spend a whole weekend. And the drive to go up there in Pella was just a 40-minute drive. But, after talking to him, I said, okay, I'll do it. And I did that visit, and I just really connected with the guys and the campus. And I just really fell in love with it. And I knew right away when that visit was over, this is where I'm going to go. There's no doubt about it. And so it was pretty late, in the spring of my senior year when I decided that. I know Central was pretty disappointed that I made that switch, but it was the right thing for me, and I'm really glad that I went there because I made some lifelong friends.
Talking with Chris Norton, motivational speaker, and he is the subject of the new movie called 7 Yards that is available on a couple of different platforms. Netflix, that's where I saw the movie. You're midway through your freshman year or so, and you're on special teams, and a collision trying to tackle a return man. You went down in a heap, basically, on contact. But I know that you were still awake. You weren't knocked out, and you were very aware of everything that was going on. At the time, did you think, I just suffered the worst stinger of all time, and how long after that hit did you realize that you couldn't move any body parts?
Yeah, it was pretty scary. Well, just not necessarily scary, but just odd because I made a lot of tackles in my life and a lot of hard hits, and this one just felt like any other tackle that you made. And I had no ringing of the ears. I was completely conscious. I wasn't rattled at all. I just felt like a regular play, but nothing in my body was working. I'm trying to push off the ground, but nothing's happening. I can't move. like someone just flipped the power off to my body. And so I'm just thinking, wow, this must be a really bad stinger. I must have to wait it out until I can get my feeling and movement back. Out of the corner of my eye, I can see the defense huddled up. They're all kind of looking out, waiting for me to get up off the field. And I'm just thinking, wow, like, this game is now stopped for me. This is embarrassing. Like, I got to get up. And so I'm just kind of like pleading with myself, like, Chris, come on. Like, what is going on? Like, I got to move. And, I just believed it was a bad stinger because, growing up, small town Iowa, I kind of felt like I lived in a bubble. Nothing really bad happened to me. Things just always worked out. And so I just thought there's no way something serious is happening. Bad things happen to other people that you read about in the television, you read about in your newspaper, but there's, no way something bad could possibly be happening to me. And so I'm calm, and they're asking me these questions. You try to make a fist with your hand. I couldn't make a fist. And then I hear a paramedic radio in for a helicopter to come pick me up. And that's when I know, like, holy cow, this is bad. That at this point, I didn't really know what was happening or what was going to happen to me. I just closed my eyes to try to escape the reality and try to not, I just don't want to see what was happening before me. It was just too real, too scary. And then I just pray to God, God, please just give me the strength to get up off this field, walk over to my teammates. Like, I just want to be a normal college student. And I felt like I was at the pinnacle of my, independent young adult life. I was living the dream, the college life, and I didn't want that taken away. And so, I was pleading with God, and like, if I never have to play sports again, like, I won't. Like, I will just give me the ability to walk. That's all I want, and to just get my life back to as close to where it was before. But little did I know, I just suffered a severe spinal cord injury, and it would be, my life would never look the same.
7 yards. It's really told by you and your family members and other people, doctors and your wife, throughout the movie, because it's a documentary that you're looking back on this and telling the story. So at one point, your mom is being interviewed, and she's talking about those first few days of you being in the hospital, and she was all worried. All these thoughts came to her head about your future, that, are you going to be able to walk? Are you going to be able to get married? What kind of life are you going to live? And she was getting all caught up in these worries. She was basically borrowing all this worry. That's a term that my wife taught me that I love. And then she decided, I need to snap out of this because God's got this. And then she said, and we all just need to suit up. And and I looked at my wife and I said, well, he's got to be on Suit Up now because she's promoted the podcast. And so I appreciated her saying that. One of my early podcasts here on Suit Up was with Sterling Thomas, a young man here in Tulsa who went through the same thing. He was midway through his freshman year playing college football, gets hit and paralyzed, and he's been unable to walk. When I was talking with Sterling about what happened to him, he was really focused in on wanting to walk again, much like you were. You have since not focused in on that. Is that what's the reason for that change of thought?
Yeah, at first, that transition from being, an athlete to now being a quadriplegic was life altering. It blew, like, my identity was an athlete. Like, that's how I identified myself, was this strong athlete. And so now, like, who am I? And I was lost, and I felt like, wow, I got to get that back. I got to get back who I am and who I was, and that's going to be through my strength, my physical strength. So that's where I kind of put all, like, my marbles in, was to walk again and to be independent. And then, as I, just lived life, and I began to see that, well, I might have valued, being an athlete, and that was important to me. It's not important to everybody. And it certainly wasn't important to my happiness and success like I thought it did. And so, I began to see that, people care about, who you are as a person, the love that you give and you can receive. Like, that's what really matters. Not how fast you can run or how high you can jump or how many tackles you can make. And once I started to kind of see that for myself, and then realize that I'm still valuable and worth it, although I have my physical limitations, I begin to see and begin to have contentment with where I was at, in a wheelchair. And happiness isn't measured by stats, and there's people who can run, jump, and swim who are unhappy. And so happiness has very little or nothing to do with your physical abilities and everything to do with your mindset, with your perspective on life. And so it just took time for me to see that. But then once I did this graduation walk and was able to inspire, millions of people, over 300 million people saw that video and were really moved and impacted by it. I was then motivated to inspire others. Like, how can I use my life experiences to make a positive difference in somebody else's life? And so that was honestly what drove me to then walk the 7 yards with my wife, Emily, because I didn't want to walk for myself, because adding that layer of pressure to make this physical goal happen was a lot. When, weddings there's a lot already going on. So I really didn't want to do it for myself, but I wanted to do it for somebody else who maybe is feeling hopeless. And if I could give them a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel through this wedding walk, I'm going to do it.
Chris, was there a time after the accident that you hit an all-time low and questioned your faith?
Yeah, I feel like it happened multiple times. It wasn't like just one moment, because, I had to wrestle with that faith and fear, because what I could see and what was before me was a mess. My life was completely shattered, and everything I hoped and dreamed of felt like it just got destroyed right before me. And so, as someone of faith, I've learned that God can take your mess and make it into a message, and these broken pieces, and He can turn it, make it into good if you love Him and believe in Him. But there was lots of times where I'm like, are you serious? Like, I think you got your hands full. Like, I don't know. I think you might have made a mistake. Like, this doesn't seem right. I don't know how anything good could ever come from my spinal cord injury and how my life is. And so I had those questions, and that I had to wrestle with that. But I just kept going back to the Word and what the Bible said, and I had to make that choice to believe in what it said and choose that faith over fear. And that's a decision that it's not a one and done thing. It's something that you have to make repeatedly. And so that's what I kept doing, is repeatedly make that choice of faith, and even though it was honestly the hardest choice to make.
Talking with Chris Norton, motivational speaker, and he is the subject of the new movie called 7 Yards. In Isaiah 41:13, it says, "For I am the Lord your God, who takes hold of your right hand and says to you, do not fear, I will help you." And what I love about that is that whatever someone is going through, it doesn't say, I will help you to be able to walk. It doesn't say, I will help you to become whatever it is that you want to become, that you're not currently. It just says, I will help you. And I think the help you, and this is what I love about where you're coming from, Chris, is that I will help you to figure out why you're on this earth in the position that you're in, and how you then can do my will to help others discover me or to strengthen that relationship with me. And that's one of the things I love about the movie. So does the movie depict Emily way too good, Chris, or is she everything we think she is based on what we see in the movie?
I mean, Emily, like, she's one of, like, those people who wears her heart on her sleeve. Like, she is who she is. Like, she has the strongest morals and values, like, I've ever met in somebody. And she will follow those morals and values to the T. And she's always been like that. I guess even in high school, I didn't know her in high school, but she just has always had this very strong conviction for doing the right thing, for serving others, to just be an example of love and kindness, a woman of faith. And so she's very authentic and very genuine, and it's just that kind of person. And so, when I first met Emily, first I had to, like, keep it together. Like, my jaw was dropping. Like, wow, she's beautiful. She's way out of my league. Just act like you've been here before, and keep it together. Because I was blown away, and she's just not like a surface level person. She's just someone who just really goes deep as far as, like, to get to know you. And that's why she makes it such a great mom now too. Like, our kids, so because we haven't mentioned it, that we started fostering, and then we've adopted as well. And all these kids, they've all dealt with trauma, and they have things from their past that they have to deal with, and sometimes relive, and flashes come back, and that there's a deep pain inside, and sometimes that can come out in different behaviors, and Emily can really get to the root of it really well, and not look at the behavior itself, but why the behavior is happening, and she can really help these kids heal. So no, she's remarkable. She's just a go-getter and has stretched me in ways that I never could imagine, especially being a dad.
I will tell you, I feel the same way about my wife, Suzanne. We'll be celebrating 30 years together here really soon. And
congratulations.
Well, thank you very much. But I'm the same. I don't know how the Lord blessed me with her, because I can say all the same things. She's beautiful, she's loving, and she takes such good care of me. It's incredible. But she's a wonderful mom, a good friend to everyone. And so I know where you're coming from when you feel like, I wasn't necessarily thinking I was going to get, a wife that is on that kind of level. And so I get that. I want to ask you, though, Chris, before I let you go, if someone wants to be able to get you to come out and be a speaker at whatever event, where would they need to go? Would it just be to your homepage?
Yeah, chrisnorton.org is my website. That's where you'll have contact there. I have the motivational speaking information. I have a nonprofit as well, the Chris Norton Foundation, information about the books, the film. Yeah, so that's a great spot to go. You can sign up for my newsletter, social media. That's the best spot to go to. But yeah, speaking is something that I love doing, and being able to share my life experiences to encourage other people and give them the steps to overcome adversity, to really just navigate the changes and the obstacles that life and work present.
And I want to throw this out too, that I had asked Chris if I could connect him and Sterling together, because Sterling is a few years younger than Chris, but obviously both football players who suffered a paralyzing injury in their freshman year of college football, and so they have a lot in common. And he just right away said, yes, here's my number, give it to Sterling, and if I can be of help to him, then he would. I wish you all the best, and I'm so thankful that I watched that movie. People can follow you on Facebook and on Twitter if they'll just go to Chris Norton. You have a blue mark for your Facebook page. Congratulations. That's an accomplishment too.
Thank you. Yeah, for sure.
For
sure. And Instagram.
And Instagram, yes, sir. So, what piece of advice, as we let you go, Chris, would you want to be the last thing you leave with an audience?
Something that was really important to me in the hospital and still important for me today is to understand that your future will take care of itself when you take care of today. And sometimes you don't know where you're going, but the most important thing is that you keep going. You keep taking one step in front of the other. And I've learned a lot over the years. And when people say they can't, what they typically mean is they won't.
Chris, thank you so much. God bless you, Chris Norton. I hope your family, I don't know how big your family will get. What is it, 5 now? I know.
7.
7?
Right now.
Okay.
We're fostering, we're co-parenting, and then we have our 5 adopted girls.
Oh, that's so awesome. Listen, I hope someday I get to meet you in person before we meet in heaven, because I think that would be a great honor for me. Chris, thank you so much for being on the program, and God bless you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. God bless.
My thanks to Chris for being a part of the Suit Up series. For more inspirational stories like Chris's, just go to suitup611.com.